When it comes to icons on the planet Earth, few things are universally recognizable. For example, you can travel to just about anywhere on the planet and mention the RMS Titanic, and chances are there will be somebody that knows or has at least heard of the ship. In my opinion, the USS Enterprise NCC-1701 is just about as iconic as the Titanic. And believe me, I'm not disrespecting the beautiful Titanic. Those of you who follow my channel know I love her almost as much as I love the Enterprise. In my opinion, the USS Enterprise is the first lady of television when it comes to spaceships. She is by far the most recognizable spaceship in television or movie history. When she made her theatrical debut in 1979, I just fell in love with her all over again. But the glorious NCC-1701 refit is another video. This video is going to be focusing on the NCC-1701 as we first had seen her back in 1966. Or at least for the production version for the classic television series Star Trek. Gene Roddenberry is the creator of this iconic franchise. Back in the early 1960s, he had a vision for a television show which he was said would resemble a wagon train to the stars, where mankind would make the trek into outer space. The vision also reflected his belief that we are not alone in the universe. Star Trek debuted with the first pilot episode titled The Cage. It starred Jeffrey Hunter as Captain Christopher Pike. The second pilot featured William Shatner as Captain Kirk. There were minor differences to the Enterprise. Finally, the series was picked up and the production of Season 1 started with an episode called The Man Trap. Again, there were subtle differences to the USS Enterprise when the production of the series began. For example, gone were the antennas coming out of the center of the Bussard collectors. The Bussards were also lit up, the now iconic rotating engines visible through the clear domes. When it comes to the filming model of the USS Enterprise, the original filming model is currently residing in the Smithsonian. Donated to them by Paramount, she is featured in the Aviation Entry Hall. Being fully restored, she lights up every hour. Now, you fellow Star Trek fans may not know this, but there was another model of the USS Enterprise. This one specifically belonged to Gene Roddenberry. This model was used by Jeffrey Hunter, William Shatner, and Leonard Nimoy for promotional photos. There is even the iconic photograph of the model hanging by wires against a blue background with clouds. Now, it is this smaller model of the Enterprise that is the highlight of this video. Much smaller than the original 11-foot filming model. This USS Enterprise is approximately 33 inches in length. It was also used in a series of episodes. The first one that comes to mind where I can say for sure that it is the 33-inch model is in Season 3's episode Requiem for Methuselah. This episode premiered on February 13th, 1969. It features the Enterprise with a sick crew that is suffering from Rigelian fever and are in desperate need of Ritalin for treatment. They encounter Mr. Flint on a planet's surface. Flint initially orders Captain Kirk and the Enterprise landing party to leave, but his stance would eventually soften and the crew were allowed to remain on the planet while the Ritalin would be gathered and brought to his lab by the M4 unit. By the way, if the M4 seems a little familiar, it features the head of Nomad. It was inverted and put on the bottom section. Dr. McCoy would need an additional 2 hours to refine the raw Ritalin into the needed antitoxin to cure the crew. However, the M4 would be able to do it much quicker. And Mr. Flint invited them to stay, as it was done in his lab by the M4. Anyway, I think I'll do an episode review on this great episode. The reason I bring it up is the part where Captain Kirk and the landing party learn the truth about Mr. Flint. Mr. Flint prevents the landing party from leaving. He has a device that resembles a remote control. He would push a button and the Enterprise would be taken from her orbit and brought to a table in the room where they stood. The crew in the ship had been put into a state of suspension. Of course, this would anger Captain Kirk, but he would be helpless as he would peer into the bridge area through the view screen. This model depicting the Enterprise is in fact the 33-inch model that belonged to Gene Roddenberry. The 11-foot filming model resides safely at the Smithsonian, adored by her many fans yearly. But the 33-inch model was loaned out by Gene Roddenberry in the late 1970s, and it was never returned. It had been missing ever since. Unfortunately, Gene Roddenberry has passed away, but it is possible that the 33-inch model may make a return to the Roddenberry family. Flash forward to October 2023. An eBay auction listing a model of the USS Enterprise. The listing was titled Rare Custom Star Trek USS Enterprise Spaceship by Richard Dayton. The model was listed as used, and the starting bid was $1,000. Now I know about this auction because I just happen to be constantly on the lookout for models like this, and I have been saving the settings in my eBay account for such a model. And I had gotten a link through my email, and I had recently found out that that model was missing, and lo and behold, when I had followed the link, I had seen the listing. It had since ended, though. The listing was ended on October 31st, 2023. There were also two bids that brought the price up to $2,500. These bids were retracted, and the auction was canceled. Of course, this model would have sold for much more if allowed to. The listing showed that the model would have been shipped from California, and the shipping would have been $202. The description of the model in the listing read, and I quote, "This ship is a custom-made spaceship by Richard Dayton Jr., made by wood and hand-painted. It's a one-in-one, very rare, old and very old. It will have its aging like wood, cracks, and sticker peeling off. Very nice for a collection, 32 inches long." The model is shown attached to a wooden type of base. It is what appears to be a metal rod supporting the ship, and it appears to be the same type of base and rod that shows the Enterprise model on Gene Roddenberry's desk. There is a plaque on the base that reads, and I quote, "Richard C. Dayton Jr., Scale Custom Models. Mailing address, 4146 Clump Avenue, North Hollywood, California. Phones, HO7-3537 and PO3-4858. Then, interestingly written in handwriting in pencil on the upper right-hand corner, reads 12 to 16 volts. And on the bottom of that, it says AC or DC. The photos in the listing show that there is a definite presence of age to this model. There seem to be parts of the ship that have worn down, showing a different color of paint underneath. There is also heavy wear and tear on the model, and has chipped off sections of paint in some areas, most notably down on the secondary hull where the nacelle pylons meet. The sensor dome is shown to be missing from the bottom of the saucer section, but another photo shows that it would be included in a small plastic bag. There seems to be little doubt that this is in fact Gene Roddenberry's missing USS Enterprise model. Missing from the 1970s, hopefully she will be making her trek home to the Roddenberry family in 2023.